And what's cooking, folks? So I took a poll the last time the stream was up. Has reminded me of a couple things. How's it going, HLAC? Um, where I did say that at some point he wanted me to go through a all spikes run, and spikes have been given kind of a bad rap in Orcs Must Die Unchained as being like a useless trap or a bad trap that only new players use. And I think that that's kind of a bad way to look at things, especially since spike traps have a lot of value on their own in different ways for different reasons, depending on how your trap loadout goes and what exactly you're trying to do. How's it going, Thomas? And so when I put the poll up, I added one of the options being a spikes and barricades run, no other traps. And a lot of people actually voted for it. I was surprised. So that's what we'll be working on today. Boom. Going to go ahead and set the deck up now. So we no longer need this one, the last stream. I guess we could also restrict ourselves to regular guardians. And then what we want to do is grab both our barricades. Or spikes. Now, because this is going to be a spike heavy run, there are some things that you could do to optimize. Hey, what's going on, Quicks? There's a lot of things you can do to make this better. Generally speaking, you can survey what you have going on and decide whether or not you need any of the inexpensive wall or ceiling traps. Not too many inexpensive ceiling traps, but things like Pounder come to mind. Something that would generally make this a bit more easy to use. And I think that's good for now. Anything else that I select will probably be based on the hero that I decide to use. So we're gonna start with something straightforward like the baths, just so you guys can get a handle on like how I sort of view spike traps and what they're good at doing. Probably played the baths too much, but it's a very good example map. Somebody that doesn't get helped out too much. All right. So Zoe's primarily just a ton of damage. Feel free to take smashing deals if you want to make your spikes even cheaper. We're going to take Feeling Fierce over here for the ability cooldown. We can also take as an ultimate set of tools for that extra spike damage, and wall building PhD to make our walls indestructible, basically. This should be pretty good.
wants help winning.
Okay, so since we're only using spikes and no other traps, not even slows or anything else, it's going to be important to understand exactly what spike traps are capable of and what they are not capable of. Spike traps only deal damage, but they deal all of the damage after, yes, what you can call it an arming time. But it's basically a delay in the trap firing after it detects an enemy of close to about half a second, somewhere between half a second and 0.75 seconds. So enemies will have like a little bit of time to actually walk through the trap before it triggers and then impales whatever's on it. So the good thing about floor spikes is that ultimately they're cheap, and that means that you can spam a lot of them, but what happens often is you run into folks who will drop a lot of these all over the place, and it'll eat up the trap count for people that want more specialized builds, like builds that incorporate a lot of different traps and require them to be laid in a specific order to maximize combos or, you know, enemy control or something like that. And this is usually where the bad rap for spikes comes from, just because they kind of disrupt what everyone else is trying to do. Obviously, things like communication will help to clear that up, but spikes can be useful even in a coordinated setup. So it's a good time to, if you're actually able to communicate with somebody, set things up so you can make your spikes as effective as they can be. That said, a lot of people will spam spikes and not do it in an important way, which is to make sure that the spikes are in the path of the enemies that are going to be coming out of the gates. You kind of want to watch the gate wisps to see where they're going to be going, so you know where to place your spikes. Notice that like there's space over here to place spikes, but unless you force barricades out through certain areas, enemies aren't ever going to go that way. They're generally going to path directly forward and try to take the shortest path to the rift that the AI allows them to. And that means that ultimately all you have to worry about is placing spikes in the enemy's path and nowhere else. Now for different groups of enemies, you're going to have to consider a few different things. Orcs tend to have a better move speed, or not necessarily orcs themselves, but the entire group of Unchained enemies, they move a bit faster than everything else. Hey, what's going on, Ash Ketchum? So, remembering that they move faster than everybody else, you'll know that after they trigger a set of traps, there's a certain amount of enemies that'll pass over them before they can trigger again. You normally get about 5 to 6 enemies based on the way that they spawn, or 5 or 6 groups of enemies, because they usually come a little clumped up. But that means that ultimately, when you get a batch of enemies that dies purely to the trap damage, you'll have a good path of about 4 to 5 traps that are all down, and then they trigger as new enemies walk over them. The ring rang for you? Oh, good. That means the bell's working. So yeah, like a solid row of about 5 traps is essentially a base for spikes. After that first 5 traps, everything else is essentially just added damage, but it's not going to boost your damage per second much. So if you were looking to camp a gate on a map that has Unchained enemies, about 5 traps deep is about what you want to go with the spikes. And then you want to try to diversify things so that you have some ceiling damage, or something coming from walls, or some crowd control so that you can hold enemies and allow the traps more time to recharge. No, I completely understood what you mean, Thomas. It's completely okay. So you can see that after about these first 5 set of traps, right back to the Guardian, these are barely getting used at all. These are what I like to call a buffer area for enemies that happen to slip by whatever you have going on in your main area, where most of the trap triggering and kill boxing will happen. They sort of catch anything that gets through that. You know, one-off enemies that might be slightly higher health than the average of what's coming out of the gate or something like that. This, of course, will change when you get into Chaos Trials and enemy HP scales up, because they are going to... Oof, that was close. They're going to have more HP and not be able to die on just a single set of 5 spikes. But it also will help you understand the HP range of the enemies and basically how much room you need for your kill box if you get used to using spikes to set up kill boxes on maps, and then sort of specialize out from there. Check this. Okay. All good.
Sometimes I just lose myself in that book.
I swung that a little bit too early. Completely missed that. Wow. What's the most annoying enemy to me? As far as bosses go, Swifty Hooves. He's really just the only boss that's designed to make you fail outright as far as bosses go. Every other boss has some sort of nuance but kind of clings to the minions. Swifty doesn't care and is basically just trying to wreck any possibility of you getting 5 stars. Also, Swifty is completely imbalanced for sabotage. Like, he's the win condition 99% of the time if both teams are evenly matched. Excuse me. As far as mercenaries go, the Dwarven Priest completely skews all the other numbers in the game to the point where, like, he's just ridiculous. Giving enemies 5 times the health while having health regeneration makes them anywhere from, you know, 5 times as hard to kill up to about 20 times, and it degrades any damage or trap setup or whatever you can possibly do pretty ridiculously. For regular enemies, probably Earth Elementals. Earth Elementals, for the same reason as Swifty Hooves is the problem. They are enemies that basically ignore all of your crowd control abilities in the game, and because of how fast they move, like you can see right here, I might actually lose something from this. Yep. There we go, Earth Elementals, absolutely. Do you know if they will ever update Orcs on PS4? As far as I'm aware, Robot does not have staff currently working on developing Orcs Must Die Unchained further. So unless they rehire anyone for it, I'm going to say no. But you would have to follow updates from Robot Entertainment to see if anything would happen there. Like, there's no updates planned currently for the PC version or the PS4 version.
Choice, Phoebe.
What's going on, Orc Slayer? Unless Robot won the lottery for $500 million, then no. Yeah, it's pretty on point. They are not going to be updating this particular game, although I think there was something that I heard about a new title being in development. or somebody said that there was a job posting that went up for robot. I didn't see exactly what it was for or check myself. But if that's the case, that likely means that they're working on something new. And hopefully we hear about that sometime in the future. I'm not sure if it's going to be an Orcs title or something else. But we'll find out whenever they decide to throw something around about it. Alright, let's grab the pole. But other than like people sifting through like job postings and stuff like that, I don't hear any other info about what's going on at Robot. So I hope to find out whenever you guys do. Or if I find out first, of course, I'll probably say something about it. So if you'd like to know, feel free to follow me on Twitter or here on YouTube if you don't already. And once something like that comes out, I'll probably add that to a video that I'm working on so you guys will be known.
An unstable rift is opening. It must be destroyed. We have destroyed the unstable rift.
That looks way bigger on the inside.
I wonder if that's a Doctor Who reference. The book being bigger on the inside, that is.
The final wave! The boss minion has entered the battlefield.
Ouch.
We've defeated the enemy's boss minion.
And they'll kill themselves before they manage to get out here, I think. The Guardian's gonna get bum rushed though. Do you like playing Zoe? Her attack seems too slow for me. So Zoe's primary attack is extra slow, but it hits the hardest out of the majority of ranged heroes in the game. The reason it fires so slow is she has a passive ability that increases her fire rate whenever her School of Magic changes. Once you get to tier 3 or battle level 7 with Zoe, you have the... I thought I turned this down. This is super loud. It never saved. Lovely. Okay, that might be why the launcher is always super loud for me. Okay, so yeah, whenever Zoe gets to battle level 7, you have the option of choosing a specific weaver. Called Death and Chaos. Every time you kill something, your magic school changes, which essentially allows you to keep up your fire rate and significantly increases the amount of damage that she's able to do versus most of the characters in the game. If you do not choose to build her for this specifically, although it's probably considered the best build for her, then you're generally going to build her for just dealing ability damage and taking things like Wellness from Chaos, refreshing the spirit so that you can cycle through her abilities, and then increasing the damage from Book Club and the pull on Phoebe's Wrath. But generally speaking, because you almost always have access to Death and Chaos, as long as you are at least a reasonable level for the map that you're playing, it's probably the best way to go. Okay, so I can move on to maximum security unless anybody has any specific maps that they would like to see. Got to keep in mind though that YouTube's delay is a bit slow, and you guys will probably not see that for like a good 20-30 seconds. Which hero is the worst for me? They find any heroes the worst, although I think the hardest hero for new players to use will probably be Ivy, because Ivy's a hero that gets isn't Riven's the new Eternal Warframe like RNG struggle? Well, it's not new, they've been around for a while, but like it's still a struggle. I think that's good for now. Yeah, Riven's are a slot machine.
Let's blow something up.
Keep rolling stats until hit what you need.
Love decorating the castle with traps. My book on trap placement said this is a good spot. Oh, or was it over there? Good spot, Phoebe?
I guard the rift.
Nice. How about there? How about there? Nice.
What's happening, Antonio? A lot of us play Warframe over here, I think. I know I do.
The enemy has opened a minion portal.
They will not reach the rift.
It's funny how her regular like archaeological dig outfit looks more like a safari outfit. Something you would wear while like trying to travel through bushland or something. And then this one's like army camouflage. Nice of them to group up like that for me. Okay, it's gonna be important for us to make sure that this is covered in the near future.
I'll try this one.
2
arcane energized.
Unstable rift is opening. Quick, destroy it.
Who disturbs my watch?
Alright, the worst thing about not having BGH ballistas is just having to make sure you fight all of these stable rifts on your own.
The unstable rift.
How many hours have I played Orcs for? A few hundred. Let's see. Oh, a few thousand. I believe that said somewhere around 3. Right, now we can start worrying about these guys.
Nice. Oh, traps. So good. So much chaos.
The enemy army is attacking on another front.
Oh, traps. So good. So much chaos.
They've broken through a gate.
Nice. Good spot, Phoebe.
I don't think they're actually going to walk too much around that particular section. Yeah, they kind of veer off a bit. Okay. They will have to around here, though.
Our barricades are under attack.
The thing that you'll have the most problems with if you are not running any wall or ceiling traps are going to be runners. Floor spikes specifically are the answer I should have gave is too many. Well, I will say a lot of it has probably been like putting together videos more so than actually just playing the game. So I could shave that in like half easily and say that that's been like the actual playtime. Alright, he's gone. Now we can actually concentrate on not losing.
That looks way bigger on the inside, thanks.
This area we actually get to throw some traps in a way that might be useful. That was a bad move. Maybe not.
Traps. So good. So much chaos.
Enemies are attacking on another front.
Nice.
Nah, they're gonna blow him up.
Nope.
They've broken through a gate.
Nice. Good spot, Phoebe.
I hate how Rubico ribbons are 800 to 2,000 a pop, even for shit stats. What kind of games do you play besides Orcs? Tons of stuff. I have really been kind of infatuated with Shadow Warrior 2 lately. I've actually decided to go back and do something that I planned on like a year ago, which was make a recorded playthrough of the original Shadow Warrior, which was released in 2017, and put that up on the channel. Killing Floor 2, I've played quite a bit of. I'll need to go back and actually finish the rest of the kills and things like that for the Halloween, no, not the Halloween, the Christmas objectives, because they dropped a couple of new weapons for that, and I want to get those, which just requires playing it a bit more. Destiny 2, but I think I was, like Destiny 2 is weird. Like, I'm still trying to get my bearings on what I actually think about that game long term, because there's some clear mechanics created in that just to keep you playing it for no good reason. And like, I was aware of the game being grindy, but like it feels like that sort of grindy that like really annoys me or aggravates me after a while, rather than something that actually makes the game interesting or offers more depth to it. That was too short, but gave me a fire rate increase, and that's what matters.
The unstable rift, and there was much rejoicing.
Sooner or later, come back to Warframe. Yeah, like the only reason I haven't like just jumped back into Warframe is because like other games that I tend to like, if I start playing it for a while, I won't play anything else. And I don't like to like rotate games often. I like to kind of just stick with one thing and play through it for a good period of time before I switch. punching simulator too. Yeah, basically. Yep, and they're getting through. Those are kobolds. And so when you get a map like this that has specifically gratings and things that prevent you from being able to place floor traps, primarily it's just to make it more difficult for you to kill things like runners and heavy enemies. Like it's a very specific game design choice that actually makes it so that wall traps and ceiling traps become a lot more impactful. And it's one that I don't actually dislike. I think that like grading and stuff is actually a really good idea for orcs. Especially since in this particular version of the game, because it's a server-side, you know, always online service type thing, they have the trap cap, and it forces you to think a bit more about where you're placing your traps, rather than just spamming traps in every open possible slot. Well, no, I did just say spikes. Like, I could toss out like all of the common stuff like pounders and whatchamacallits, arrow walls, because the arrow walls you do start with. You don't start with pounders, unfortunately. Which kind of annoyed me a bit as like a new player when I first started this, because I'm like, how do you have no ceiling traps that are like actually usable other than the concussive pounder? Although the concussive pounder itself is pretty good, not dealing damage just like puzzled me for a while. Only using Lenny faces because you don't have your damn kappa.
Rift has been destroyed.
Wait, is that like a default smiley? If no, full moon face. Okay, I was about to say, if they had like a bootleg like yellow smiley for kappa, I would have been dying laughing for a second. Ballista's not a common trap either. I mean, well, no, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. It is a common trap, but you don't acquire it until Rift Lord. And like, it's clear to me that on the initial design of this game, they really just gated off a bunch of traps based on how good they thought they were, rather than you know, when they felt you should be able to diversify them in the trap selection. Like, which traps are rare and which traps aren't are not necessarily, they don't necessarily make sense.
The boss minion has been taken down.
Like, I would have never made this game's... Wait, the full moon face is the Kappa command? That's... Why would YouTube do that? Oh gosh. That's horrible.
I'm glad this is multiple choice.
Guardian has been defeated.
Oh, that's bad.
are under attack.
One other thing is because of the Guardian change that happened sort of late into the game's development, the redundancy of having like 4 different default Guardians, well 5 actually, kind of pointless now. YouTube thinks they're edgy. No, I mean the member system and YouTube's emotes are essentially just trying to copycat Twitch. But I mean, personally, I feel like YouTube really hasn't cultivated the same sort of audience that Twitch has, as far as you know, just the way that people actually decide to spend money on the site. YouTube's kind of all over the place with video rentals and like YouTube Red and other things, and it makes it so that trying to get people to like support streamers or something like that with direct cash contributions or memberships really seems to me a bit out of place. You don't get why there are multiple default Guardians. Okay, so once upon a time, back in Robot Land, when the game was still young, you could only place each Guardian in your inventory once. You can only equip 2 Guardians in a loadout. And so, if you wanted to place more than 1 Guardian, and everybody only started with 1, you needed to be able to summon or equip more Guardians. Meaning that for a single player, you could place no more than 2, and for anyone else, every player that you added would add up to 2 additional Guardians. Granted, Guardians weren't that hard to unbox. You could get one of the common ones out of the apprentice chests really easily. Generally, after you play through with a couple of characters playing through apprentice, if you cleared all the hero boxes and such, you'd probably wind up with one. I think you have to do a capital K, Thomas. Yeah, so forcing everybody to sort of unbox extra Guardians was a way for them to promote loot boxes, but that itself was kind of problematic because Orcs Must Die was designed from the ground up as a sort of PvP experience. It was never really decided to be PvE. Yeah, I mean the HP and mana regen is extremely useful. The only reason I actually choose to use Speedy McChicken Pants is because I have siphons in my tar traps. Those siphons and my tire traps make it so that I don't require anything else for mana or HP regen, and that allows me to diversify my loadouts a bit more often. Oh man, and they were trying so hard to figure out like how to make sure people were not using HP and mana siphons and everything when this game was in development, that it was just like, there's no way. Unless you play with Elin. Yeah, but even then, HP siphons are like amazing.
A boss is on its way.
Like the amount of work that was put in trying to nerf mana and HP siphons was hilarious.
The boss minion has entered the battlefield. The boss minion is down.
So powerful when I grow up.
And it's like, look, if you put something in a game, like, the only reason I could have ever seen them nerfing anything in this game was to basically try to get people to purchase more loot boxes. Because ultimately, if you find an item and it has a strategy that allows things to work, why at all would you try to change that? Like, the strategy works because it works within the game's mechanics. It's not like any particular item was overpowered or else you'd have nerfed it from the onset. Unless it was a bug. I mean, there were some bugs in the game with the way that certain heroes got released originally. Elin still has, like, I guess now permanently, the bug where her shotgun will shoot, or I'm sorry, not Elin, Brass. Brass has the bug where her shotgun. Enjoy playing Trump. You mean like the Hearthstone guy? Oh, nice, a self-improvement coil. I can create walls at will or snowball away all the immigrants. You mean Tundra. Okay. Yeah, I don't think we need to be that edgy. I got it a while ago, but remember YouTube has like a 30-second delay. So by the time you type anything and I realize that I said it, probably 2 minutes have passed. I'm not using fire traps. Why would I ever do that? Actually, if I was going to play somebody other than Zoe, be a bad move. Who actually works well with Gabriella does. And I don't have her box. That's the only meme you got. No, I've counted it out a few times, and it's pretty heavy Shadow Reaper. Like, I can actually see what's going on my screen and what's coming through YouTube at the same time. But like it will shift. Like on a good day, it's about 10 to 15 seconds. On a bad day, it's 20 plus.
Try not to swoon, all right?
And this is without me selecting the
Oh, did that hurt?
this is without me selecting the low latency selection, because what I found is that choosing that makes the stream really fuzzy.
Yes, that will do nicely.
Which I was kind of upset about.
The master taught me well. There. That's good, don't you think? This one is my favorite. Traps keep my hands from getting dirty during this killing business.
So this one's actually pretty bad, because the bears here are going to regenerate a bunch of HP as things walk over the spikes. This is probably one of the first maps that teaches you that you need to like use a bit more crowd control to control the bears, so that you can try to kill them in groups rather than just let them get picked off one by one. We can also do this. Boom. Because spike traps basically just deal burst damage, they're really good with Gabriella's kinetic pulse. You can also just do this, and
Vermillion would never have thought of this.
I think that's probably not the way that that's supposed to work. Looked like I gained health like 4 times. Alright, you go over there.
Playtime! This will give them what they deserve. I don't have enough coin.
I'm broke.
Stay back!
Alright, we're just gonna freeze everybody here. They can all go that way. Grab the immobilization on Blink. Lovely. Probably the worst place to use that in, period. Gabriella has no damage over time effects though, and that makes this a bit more difficult than for the most part it should be. I do have the firewall bracers though, and I should be using them.
Enemies incoming! They've broken through on another front! They've broken through a gate!
This will be fun.
Okay. Didn't snare him. Okay. Spikes are probably the worst trap that you could possibly use against these guys. And that's because they were made primarily to make sure that burst damage is the worst damage to use against them. They are extremely weak to damage over time or effects that hit them multiple times. I say that because damage over time is basically the ladder, but there are some things that will literally just hit multiple times as a minion walks over it, like grinders, if they stand still long enough, or the arcane floors. What are they? The don't use them often enough. It's the trap that Oziel has a bunch of perks with. Cursed Ground. There we go. Because the longer they stand on the Cursed Ground, the more damage that they'll take, and it hits multiple times. You can allow them to just get trapped on those and deal quite a bit of damage with it. Or at least it'll eat through their ability to just survive things. So if you want to take them out easily, what you'll normally do is set up some burst damage. The first or largest chunk of their health doesn't really have any sort of protection, but once they get down to about 20 to 40%, depending on the size of the enemy, they'll start to take that bonus damage, or they'll have the damage reduction. The Guardian's extra dead.
A good plan executed violently.
I kind of wish that the Guardians had more pronounced elemental attacks. Like there was a Guardian that would always deal fire damage instead of just on spins and things like that. It would have made them a little bit more interesting in my eyes.
A boss is on its way!
Always wanted.
Okay, this should be
An unstable rift is opening. Get to it and destroy it.
The
Renvald.
boss minion has been taken down!
Die by little purple sparks. Well done. The unstable rift has been destroyed.
Then these guys just get roasted.
Our barricades are under attack!
Alright, that's what I expected.
Defeated.
Okay, stators are going to be such a headache.
Our barricades are under attack. They've destroyed our barricades.
I love this trap. There. That's the spot. Those minions won't know what hit them. By my command. Oh, delicious.
They've destroyed our barricades.
I do love my toys.
Too soon. Actually, I could.
Those minions won't know what hit them.
Leaving extra space open where good spikes could go is definitely a bad idea. What do you think the best nerf for brass is? The best nerf for brass was them nerfing her secondary fire. Like, that halved the utility of her secondary shot for the majority of the game and took away the Super Saiyan Brass achievement. Well, not achievement, but like, basically Brass was the one character that they had in the game that made it feel like you actually just wanted to Unchained more often, because it was like a really amazing feeling, and then kind of got rid of that, so it's just like, eh. Like, Brass pretty much works as intended right now. Except for the shotgun shooting through shields thing. But, like, honestly, I feel like I would be completely okay with that being an intended feature.
Our barricades are under attack. They've destroyed our barricades.
Like, if somebody's using a gun, it should probably go through a shield. Just saying. Especially a shotgun.
They've summoned a boss minion.
Man, they really love wrecking these barricades. It's all the fire elementals. I think ultimately Brass is probably one of the strongest characters in the game for somebody that doesn't like to move around a lot. But she's definitely no TF2 engineer. Like, the turret's not particularly overpowered or anything, and most of its upgrades are really lackluster. Which I'm kind of upset about. Like, the turret's a nice addition, but it feels like everything about the character is better than the turret. The bombs, the cannonball. But I think the cannonball is just good because of the weird nuances with her primary attack. And the fact that it's uncancelable.
Our barricades are under. They've destroyed our barricades.
And I can't tell why it's uncancelable. Because, like, I know there was a lot of words had with the devs about it, and the fact that, like, it felt foreign because of the way that every other character behaves in the game.
Our barricades are under attack.
Okay, don't want you guys blowing that up. Gonna let you come in here a bit.
We have destroyed the unstable
There we go.
Boss defeated.
Do I like TF2? TF2's alright. I played it a bit, not like a ton. I'm nowhere near like competition caliber player. I'm pretty bad at most of the classes actually. But it's a game I've enjoyed. I think the TF2 has like a very interesting community around it though. It's one of the few games that like has produced so many interesting pieces of content aside from actual gameplay that I think that's kind of a neat thing. Alright, we're gonna take that cooldown. Alright, I'm tired of rebuilding these barricades. You guys can walk on spikes. I'm okay with that. Played it for like a year and a half just to forget my password and lose all the progress I had.
Being good's not all bad.
Was it not part of your Steam account? Or did you have a different Steam account?
Unstable rift is opening. Quick, destroy it.
Alright, he's done. Can I zap this without them getting in the way?
And
Got
our
it.
heroes destroyed the unstable rift. And there was much rejoicing.
I'm just gonna grab retaliate. Go around giving people. I forgot both password and the name of my account. Jeez. Forgetting your account name is a pretty big deal. That's why I don't do like the weird stuff like putting a lot of X's or like repeating numbers or anything like that in front of my names. Like the good amount of intent that goes with any name that I create.
Final wave.
Lovely.
I think these guys should be wrecked.
A boss is on his way.
Lysander's just really slow.
Huh. Did no one ever teach you brutes about personal space?
That's weird. I went almost nowhere that time.
The enemy's boss is dead.
He resurrected almost nobody too. I wonder if Lysander only resurrects people after they've died if he's already on screen. Oh, there's another wave of people coming. Yeah. Alright, and there we go. Whoa. Game crash? Okay. That was interesting. That's the first time I've seen the launcher crash. Sorry about that. Okay, so we've done the first 3 maps so far. Done restricted. Still need to do this with Zoe, Smolder, Ivy, and Bianca. So go ahead and do it with Bianca. So we're gonna need bear hugs, natural born sprinter, and there's gonna be some explosives here, but not too big wall building.
Another day, another battle. Mama needs some me time. No, this go here. Good place. Yes. Man,
I forget how many traps you get to place early just because of how cheap bikes are.
That one's my favorite.
The enemy has opened a minion portal.
No trespassing.
They've broken through a gate!
So I think Bianca is one of the few melee characters that actually have a stuttered melee attack still in the game. She can't move while attacking. 2 power outages? Jeez. You live in an area that has a lot of bad weather, or is there just some issues going on with the power company?
Got a talent for interior decorating.
An unstable rift is opening. Get to it and destroy it. Well done. The unstable rift has been destroyed.
Alright, gonna grab Love my mace. Bianca used to be probably one of the top 3 characters in the game overall. I think she's still pretty good, but like they hit her with a couple of nerfs because of how dominant she was in Sabotage for a bit. And they had at one point literally nerfed her into the ground, and she became almost unusable for even early survival play. Oop.
They've summoned a boss minion.
Alright, we got our boss. He should get whammed up pretty good.
The enemy's boss is dead.
Bianca's also one of the few characters that can knock back heavy enemies really well. Alright, bouncy mama. It sucks that the bounce that she does doesn't cause collision damage if they hit the ceiling, because that would make the move actually useful if you were playing in a place with low ceilings. Alright, we gotta get up here. Drop him.
Got a talent for interior decorating.
There we go.
Good place. Yes.
Watch out! Our enemies have broken through again! They've broken through a gate!
Smart, smart. I ain't the Unchained leader for nothing. Bianca gets a gold star for that.
It's rare you get an area where enemies will walk over almost every single space that exists in it, but this is one of them.
Our barricades are under attack!
I ain't the Unchained leader for nothing. I ain't the Unchained leader for nothing.
Unstable rift is opening. Destroy it.
Good place.
Alright, that rift is all the way down there. Jeez. woofing it with Bianca, not the best feeling.
Does know best.
We have destroyed the unstable rift.
Almost at Rift one-shotting level.
I ain't the Unchained leader for nothing. No, just go here. Bianca gets a gold star for that. I ain't the Unchained leader for nothing.
Who disturbs my watch?
I ain't the Unchained leader for nothing.
Fighting off kobolds with the starter melee attacks, I remember, was definitely not pleasant. Nope, wouldn't reach. Alright, we got the buggy bear, and he's coming from, well, eventually from here. Hey, what's going on, Bahamut? Did he take no damage? Okay. All of those are about to go into the rift.
Our enemies, they're breaking through again.
I don't think I'll have to worry about this area as much. Shouldn't be any runners,
They've
just a bunch
broken
of
through a gate.
beefy things walking on spikes.
Unstable rift is opening.
That's so problematic.
Destroy it.
I might just have to let it open. Yep, couldn't get to it in time.
Unstable rift was not destroyed. Enemy minions incoming.
Oh, taken care of. Almost forgot about Stildorks for a while. Oh man, that means that doing something like this on Falling Folly would probably be a nightmare. Why are you using Grars? It isn't only spikes? Grars? Oh, you mean Guardians?
Very good choice, if I do say so myself.
Move, stupid.
Years.
Move away from the barricades!
It's alright, most of the time I forget I have the gear anyway. Oh, those are gonna die.
Oh, don't cry, honey. I didn't hit you that hard.
The boss minion has entered the battlefield.
An unstable rift is opening. It must be
The
destroyed.
enemy's boss is down.
And our heroes destroyed the unstable rift.
Oh yeah, it's because if you only use spikes literally and nothing else, like firewall gear actually requires me to be at wherever runners are gonna show up so I can try to stop them with it. But without any sort of fire traps or something that reacts a bit faster than floor spikes, you'll probably get murdered by like earth elementals. Almost guaranteed. Like, see this guy?
Our barricades are under attack. A boss is on his way. Enemies at the rift. Boss minion defeated.
Yep. And again, that's because of a trap feature called the it's like firing delay or something like that, that essentially makes it so that traps don't fire as soon as they get touched. And that actually makes spike traps better and worse. They're worse against runners because without slows, like if you're not using viscous tar, spike traps can't handle runners at all. And if you've ever wondered why, like, you almost always... Oh, that's right, the sound went up because this doesn't save any of the sounds. Changes. But yeah, the reason you almost unanimously see me using viscous tar is because without it, runners will destroy any sort of use of spikes or triggering traps that you can set up other than ice spikes, because ice spikes have almost no firing delay. That said, I'm going to take a quick moment to run to the bathroom, and I will be right back. All right, back. All right, so I agree. Bianca is pretty horrendous against anything that's fast. Part of the reason why I made sure that I was using it a bit more often than I would with other characters. Now we're up to the night market. Probably going to be some struggles here. Can't go with Deadeye. You know what? Deadeye was released before this map was available in Rift Lord. Bianca versus Swifty is a death wish. I mean, if you can Unchained and get like a nice smash and then like long distance mace hit in, then you can probably like 1 or 2 shot Swifty under the right conditions. If like you're under leveled or like you're in sabotage and Swifty's like super high HP, then yeah, that's a guaranteed loss. Feeling fierce is it. Trap damage I'm not worried about. I wish there was a way to get better ability cooldowns. Big buzzkill. Not too much worried about that. Not sure if Respect My Authority increases the length of time that your bramble barricades are out, but I will do that. And test that. Right. Yeah, we're good to go there.
Fighting, traps, screaming and hollering. Ah, feels like I'm finally home.
You said it, not me.
Killbox is shaping up real nice. That's pretty dastardly if I do say so myself. Don't mind if I do. Yeah, right there.
Gonna do. Oh, did they just change direction because I put traps down? You bums. Alright.
Mighty fine day for a massacre.
The enemy has opened a minion portal.
I mean, Bianca's one of those characters that also becomes exponentially better as she has more time to deal with threats because of how slow her attacks and everything else are. But like, she's a character that pairs up super well with crowd control and crowd control traps in general because of it. And boop.
I'm the baddest outlaw that ever lived.
Okay. Stable Hand or Priest Guardian are helpful versus Swifty. The priest only if he happens to do a spin. Stable hand helps, but Bianca specifically has that attack stutter where she can't move. And that's a unique problem for her now that they've removed that from every other melee hero in the game. Because literally nobody else has that problem now.
Wait till they see this. This'll stop them.
Enemies are attacking on another front. They've broken through a gate.
An unstable rift is opening. Destroy it.
Make a hole!
And our heroes destroyed the unstable rift. And there was much
All right.
rejoicing.
We get the bleed, or we get out of the way for spurs.
No,
Yeah, that's gonna be it.
Dirty.
So I like the bleed that you can get on Elven Razor Reeds, but you just can't trigger enough of them, in my eyes, to really be worthwhile. For a pretty long cooldown. Oh wait, I chose the wrong one completely, didn't I? Yep. I didn't want the damage roll. It's okay, but it requires you to be a bit too close. And it's unsynergistic with like every other ability choice that she has.
Our defenses have been breached.
It was basically created because originally she was required to roll like every 3 seconds to keep up her damage buff. And it's probably was one of the most nightmarish things about like trying to play her when she first got released. Granted, deals a lot of damage. Ton. But instead of dealing 20% more damage per second, she dealt 100% more damage. For like, no, I think it was 50% for like the duration.
I don't feel so hot.
It was a number much higher than it is now.
Training is paying off. This'll stop him. Yeah, right there. That's pretty dastardly if I do say so myself. Killbox is shaping up real nice.
An unstable rift is opening. Quick, destroy it. Well done. The unstable rift has been destroyed.
Hard Knocks is actually really good if you're playing in teams. If you have somebody that you can coordinate crowd control with, it's really, really good. Burning Hate's probably the weakest choice here, actually. I like the idea of being able to burn enemies with the bombs, but the bomb cooldown and the weak amount of damage that it does really don't add up well. I like Fistful of Brambles a lot, though. Because then her best ability literally just becomes dodging into enemies. Which is silly because she's a ranged character, but she gets most of her benefit by just rolling through enemies. becomes really unsustainable, like in high difficulty matches where you take a ton of damage. And in that case, you usually just want to stay back and roll away from enemies. The brambles are still super useful. Like, you can use those against runners and everything. You just, and then you can stack them on top of these. They'll hit enemies multiple times. It's ridiculous. As long as you can keep up her mana pool, like, you're pretty good. And I think ultimately you can get out.
No, no, and no.
3 of them at a time. Though they only cover about half the area that the Bramble ability does. Completely okay, because you can make 3 of them. Oh, you goofed. But yeah, all of the extra work that and like the passive that they give you for her regular primary attack, her primary attack ultimately becomes one of the worst things for her to use long term, which is kind of sad because there's very few characters like that.
Watch out! An unstable rift is opening. Get to it and destroy it.
Okay, so Razor reads you.
Running on fumes.
Oh, missed one. Okay. So I think it's funny that Bramble Barricade says that it deflects damage back on attackers, but I think it actually makes you invulnerable at the same time. It basically turns Ready Steady Fire into Max's in your face. No, not in your faces. His shield ability, but also has you firing out a ton of arrows at the same time. It's probably up there with Clear 'em Out if you need like really important defensive stuff, but Clear 'em Out's generally better because if you space yourself well, you can kill way more enemies.
One with both crossbows blazing.
Mana Well has 3 seconds cooldown. OP in co-op. Yeah, I mean, so Mana Well used to have a longer cooldown, but the problem was like people, they were trying to convince people to not use siphons because Mana Wells work in co-op. Siphons are bad in co-op because they force you to want to place more of your own traps rather than allow people to cooperatively like fill in whatever sort of trap layout you have going for. And so they're strictly like something that is better when you're playing solo, whereas the Mana Well itself will take up 1 trap slot, which is you don't have if you're playing solo, only works in co-op but works better than siphons ever could. So that's an interesting situation there. I mean, it's just something that people should be aware of. Support traps are good, but support traps really, really shine well only in multiplayer. And it's weird mainly because that was never the case in Orcs before. I mean, granted, they didn't have the same dynamics that this game does, but like you rarely had a situation where something was better when you had multiple people using it than it was when you used it by yourself. All right, so I got time for maybe 2 more maps. So if you guys want, I'll let you choose the remaining maps. You can choose whatever maps you want. And yeah, it does always hate when it does suck whenever you get like that random enemy that manages to pop into your rift and take off a point, preventing you from getting the 5 stars. Order maps like Unchained Fortress or Throne Room. I did do the Throne Room earlier. We can do the Unchained Fortress, but it doesn't exist in Rift Lord. We'd have to go to... At least it exists in Rift. Pretty sure it doesn't. Nope, definitely not there. Yeah, Throne Room was the 3rd map that we ran. We did that on Rift Lord. So Orcalaw's order. Orcalaw would probably be atrocious if we tried to do spikes only though. There's so much wall space here. Anything else that's... There's Storm Drain. There's a lot of wall space too though. Not that spikes would be bad in that. Spikes are probably super bad versus order. But probably, I mean absolutely. There's a lot of... against the order, you're going to want to have something that does area of effect damage and or damage over time. If you can get both, that's great. But you're going to want it. If you're only using spikes, your best bet is probably going to be running Smolder. Orcalaw is best. Alright, fine, we'll do Orcalaw. I'm running Smolder though. Which is good, I don't have the box here. Shark Island's Pirates. Take a challenge and do Orcalaw. Yeah, we'll do Orcalaw. Alright. That. Feeling fierce. Oh, we won't need wall building PhD so much. Armor, no. Take that, and I guess I will take more hero damage. Alright, let's do this. I may not be able to stay for 2 more maps. This might be the last one. Okay, let's see.
I'll show you all how it's done.
Okay. So generally speaking, I like to not have anything ever come in on this worker lot. It's just bad business.
Don't worry, this should stop them.
Things coming up here are fine. So generally you want to make sure that this area is blocked off, that you have enemy funneled into here. One of the hardest things to deal with is just the fact that you can't really place barricades here well if you plan on using the Guardian location. So if you plan on using the Guardian, drop your Guardian there, don't put barricades down until he dies. Why do I use 2 Cades on the right side? Oh, because I like having them run back here. The route is longer, but it's safer. Gives you a bit more time. There's probably a pathing flag up here somewhere that I'm not blocking, so they walk up here and then turn around.
I like it. Like making a campfire. Like making a campfire. I like it.
Yeah, we can do that.
The enemy has opened a minion portal.
They will not. They've broken through a gate!
Alright. This black color actually looks pretty badass. Oh, somebody got the satyrs. Freaking satyrs, man. Already trying to cause me troubles. Right. If flamethrower increased the rate that you threw fireballs, I'd probably like that. Still with hot foot though.
Protect and heal.
Like making a campfire. There. Your desire is to play with fire.
Oh man. The freaking... I gotta make sure that the Dwarven Priest doesn't wind up causing me to deal with like nearly invulnerable satyrs. Which he is. Yeah, so whoever asked me like the enemy that I hated the most, if like it had to be a single specific one, it would probably still be this guy. He causes problems that nobody else in the game can. And he combos with every other problem that exists in the game. Like if you think the Pride Assassin is a problem, he makes the Pride Assassin worse. If you think Swifty Hose is a problem, he can give Swifty Hose armor.
This will hurt.
I should probably, alright, yeah, we're gonna get ready to let this guy get wrecked soon.
Our boss is on his way.
Of course he is. He's coming out of there. Alright, that's a dead Swifty, but we gotta take care of all of his buddies. And I'm going to take Endothermia. Dwarf Priest makes it hard at any time in the game. Yep. The Dwarf Priest is always a problem at any difficulty, at any time.
And now my love consumes me.
And like, there's very few enemies that can matter that much in the game.
Our defenses have been breached again.
Perfection. Perfection. Perfection.
They've broken through a gate.
Yeah, they have.
This will hurt. Fire consumes all. Even me sometimes.
I don't like Dwarf plus Pride Assassin. It's a hard combo. Yeah, Dwarf and Pride Assassin are pretty much the guaranteed way to end any endless run. Dwarf and Bugbear are also a uniquely annoying combination because, excuse me, all of the issues with the Bugbear's AI allow him to just be nigh indestructible while wrecking all of your barricades. And it's just not a pleasant experience at all. Like, it doesn't feel like you have any chance to really kill one. They're both really tanky. And yeah, they'll just mess up whatever you have going on. It's also next to impossible to kill the Pride Assassin while he has the bonus armor and HP regen from the Dwarf Priest at certain levels. Like, once he reaches a certain threshold, he will regenerate HP literally as fast as you can damage him, and it's a serious problem.
Smoking gun. Core of the soul as the core of the earth.
Our barricades are under attack. Enemies are attacking on another front.
Perfection.
They've broken through a gate.
Another surprise.
An unstable rift is opening. Quick, destroy it. Destroy the unstable rift.
But yeah, basically, dwarfing anybody is bad. Which means that, like, specifically because the dwarf is the problematic combination, the dwarf is the superior mercenary.
Our barricades are under attack.
I am.
They've destroyed our barricades. Our barricades are under attack.
I'm glad they let you easily jump over barricades without having to actually push the jump key. Otherwise, this would be so hard to move around. Jeez, that thing's almost destroyed. We'll let it live. I say that literally as it's about to get blown up and make this a problem.
Destroyed our barricades. Our barricades are under attack.
Alright, y'all go for it. I'll wreck that barricade hard. Alright, we've got free fire now. Oh, this might be a loss. Miskill dwarf at first and he has shield. That means BGH ballista don't do work. For the dwarf, the BGH arrow walls are what you want to go for. The arrows still do percentage damage to the dwarf's shields, I believe, and he can get hit by them multiple times. That one's in, unless the guardian hits him. The arrow walls, like 2 arrow walls, I think will get through the dwarf's shield, if not 1. Well, 2 usually wind up killing him. Yeah, shield makes it impossible to leave him for your traps. Yeah, I mean, you just can't use the ballista. And the problem is the ballista works so well in everything else that it feels weird bringing the BGH arrow wall just for the chance the dwarf priest shows up. Because that trap doesn't synergize well with anything else.
You've made it to the final wave. The boss minion has entered the battlefield.
So ultimately, they've created a mercenary that basically forces people to either use a suboptimal build or to just, you know, hope he doesn't show up via RNG. Which is, in my opinion, that's just bad design. Like, the dwarf priest on his own is good, but it means the arrow wall trap probably needed some love and didn't get it.
This is why you don't play with fire.
Alright, nice. Surprised that went as well as it did. And we got a box. I got a few minutes left. I might be able to do one more quick. Alright, somebody throw another map at me. It has to be under 15 minutes. So basically not Shark Island. BGH arrow wall missed shots off. Not often enough to matter. One of the few things that causes it to miss shots are like weird ornamental objects on the map. Otherwise, it should be pretty accurate. Versus bosses. Mercenaries, it depends. Confluence or Falling Folly. I think Falling Folly is quicker. Falling Folly is going to be a nightmare, though. So let's do it. I've done the Falling Folly with everyone. Probably not. Most of the newer characters have. So brass or like this, brass and Elan. Oh, I've done it with brass. Okay. I kind of want to do it with brass again, just because I have that daily. But I don't need skulls anymore. So or for trap rat is small targets. Yes. But the target size isn't really the issue. The dwarf shield is the biggest problem for BGH ballistas. And again, that's why I think the arrow wall is pretty good. The zapper is probably the worst BGH trap, just because it just requires you place a ton of them, and placing a bunch of traps that don't fire often and have very little utility, kind of a bad idea. Let's go ahead and take bear hugs. Want to be tanky, we can take Joy's Pain. Finishing deals. We'll go with that. This is going to be probably atrocious. Gandalf. Because, well, there's a ton of runners on this map. Runners generally are best dealt with fire or charge-based traps. And I'm not using any grinders. Grinders would make this entire map like a walk in the park. You can literally just line the walls with them. Let them handle most of the problems. In this case,
I have a
do
plan
this.
in mind. With these traps, I protect the Empire. I consider every trap carefully. I have a plan in mind. I consider every trap carefully. I have a plan in mind.
Yeah, looks like that'll be about right.
This spot is the most harmonious. When I was a girl, we didn't have traps. We just had weapons, and we were glad for them.
The boss minion has entered the battlefield.
Blondie Lynn looks weird to me.
They've broken through a gate.
They're gonna bust through first. Could have built that second guardian. I'm not gonna have time for him.
Broken through a gate.
I am strength. I am grace. I am stone. The reach of the Empire is small.
Got him.
The enemy's boss minion.
That's only because I'm over leveled though. Easier than I expected it to go. I'm gonna try grab Healing Moon.
Well chosen. I consider every trap carefully. After much meditation, this placement fits my strategy. Traps are a great technological advancement.
Good thing Moneybags doesn't take lives away. Yeah, pretty much.
A boss is on its way.
Low Moneybags I really don't care about that much. But freaking Earth Elementals are so tanky.
My skill increases, but I must keep training.
Okay. Nice.
The boss minion has been taken down.
Jade Sentinel.
Sweet.
are a great technological advancement.
Messed that up.
An unstable rift is opening. Destroy it. Well done. The unstable rift has been destroyed.
You will pay for this! Do not pass.
This trap will kill many minions. This spot is the most harmonious. Submit.
Mage's Clover is OP on this hero. I know, best item, right?
My flesh is stone, but my heart is rage and fire.
Really?
With these traps, I protect the Empire. I have a plan.
You have to change the
in mind.
Clover a lot when I take a hero with no mana. I do that pretty much all the time.
I am transformed.
I'm pretty sure I have videos of it.
Enemies of the Empire. I have a plan in mind.
You will not pass.
When I was a girl, we didn't have traps. We just had weapons, and we were glad for them.
Oh, I was completely asleep at the wheel there. What was getting through here? There probably wasn't even anything up here. I probably missed the runner.
Now that was a kill worthy of a general of the Cloud Tiger Empire. This spot is the most harmonious.
That sounds like an audio bug.
I guard the room. Who disturbs my watch?
This entire map is basically just, will the earth elementals get through? Everything else is largely irrelevant.
I must do what is right for my people.
You will pay for this! Rock them now. Let's rumble! Beware, intruder.
There's a ton of times I've played Falling Folly, and like it would be like a multiplayer match, and then somebody would let like, or I guess we together combined would wind up letting a single earth elemental through, and like everybody would be mad because we know that like even if we continue playing, we wouldn't get that 5th star, and it would just be a single earth elemental the entire time, but always an earth elemental, nothing else.
To lead our armies, I must keep ahead of our enemies.
Come over here.
Fear me! I am once again the Jade Sentinel.
Why would people be afraid of you when you're in a form that literally prevents you from attacking? You think a lightning guardian would be overpowered? A lightning guardian probably would have been nice. I mean, they have ice, they have fire. They even have poison. Which I was kind of surprised about. But no lightning.
I consider every trap carefully.
There is an arcane guardian too. Whoa. I wasn't sure I would hit that one because he was already kind of inside of me.
Your attacks are useless.
Who's that? Jade Skin and Classical Changa.
A boss is on its way. Boss minion defeated.
Really?
The enemy's boss is down. They've summoned the boss minion.
Oh yeah.
The boss minion has entered the battlefield. The boss minion is down. A boss is on its way. Boss defeated.
Best us with that boss was foolish folly.
The enemy's boss is dead.
My swords cut deep.
Boss
The
minion
path of
defeated.
Strength and patience leads to victory.
Lightning is the most powerful damage type in this game. As long as what you're looking for is raw damage. Arguably, ice is probably up there as well. But ice's damage budget is reduced because of it. Right. But that's going to be it for today's Orcs Must Die stream. I'm not sure if I'm going to have a stream going tonight because I'm going out to the movies, and by the time the movie's over, it'll be beyond midnight. If I do get on, it'll probably be in the late AM over in Europe or the early AM over in the US. So yeah, poison is definitely overlooked, Bahamut. That was one of the things that I was hoping to see more of if they added traps to the game, but I don't think the development of the game was looking that promising when people started talking about adding more traps. But who knows? We'll see if they move on to another Orcs title with whatever robot's working on. But we'll never know what was supposed to come out in this unless Robot throws their plans, out in the open. But that's up to them to decide. Maybe we'll find out if they ever publicize that sort of information later. Either way, thanks to everybody for coming out. I sincerely appreciate it. Feel free to follow me over on Twitch. I'm doing more like I'm doing a different variety of games over there than I am here, mainly because I think a lot of people don't like all of the notifications popping up daily whenever I stream on YouTube. And so I'm starting to do more streams on Twitch. I did want to keep the Orcs stuff on the YouTube channel since a lot of the base was here for that. But yeah, I'll go ahead and drop a link to a Twitch channel into the stream chat in a second if you guys care to follow. And if you want to see like whatever I'm playing for any period of time outside of the stuff that I'm doing for Orcs and recording videos for, it'll be over there. Either way, thanks again. Now I look forward to doing more streams like this with you guys, and I hope you have fun. Until next time, take care of yourselves and have a good one, folks.